Hello, this is Mark, and this is another video on baseball board games. What you're looking at is a baseball board game that came out in the early 70s called Sports Illustrated Baseball. They only issued 3 years of this game and then discontinued it for some reason. I don't know why. It is the game that I played when I was young and when I played the most baseball board games of my life. Now I'm not young, um, and I have interest in baseball board games. And what I like to do is write computer programs that actually play the baseball board game as they were designed. It rolls the dice. It keeps track of the lineups and the score and the statistics, and you can do different things like play single games or play against a manager of the computer, or play entire seasons, or have the computer play entire seasons. And what I've done in the past is write these programs and made them exactly the same as the games as they came out. I've looked at YouTube videos and I see that people are out there who figure out how these games were put together and figure out how to add new teams or new players or make the players better or change things, which is very interesting to me. So I was able to get from a man named Steve Etzel a spreadsheet that allows you to make more players and teams for Sports Illustrated Baseball. And I've never done that before, so I took the spreadsheet, which looked pretty comprehensive to me, and used it to build all the teams from the 1969 season in the National League. The Sports Illustrated has seasons of 1970, 71, and 72, so I went back to 69 because I'm interested in the New York Mets and how they won the World Series that year. And this, what you're looking at, is the team chart of the New York Mets that was created by Steve Etzel spreadsheets and is displayed within my program that plays the game. So there's the batters, the position players. I won't go into a lot of detail how Sports Illustrated Baseball works because there are other videos on that. I will just talk about what I'm doing here. So there's the players, position players, and here are the pitchers right there. They had a good pitching staff. So this is a brand new team that didn't come out with Sports Illustrated. I did make one change on how the game works because Steve and a guy named Randy Cox have put out this idea that there's a way to control how many home runs pitchers give up. So if in real life they gave up a lot of home runs or they didn't give up very many home runs, that this change to the game kind of incorporates that knowledge. And what you see here is in the green boxes, if there's a HR, that means that if the pitcher rolls that number and the batter gets a hit, the hit gets turned into a home run. If there's an HR in parentheses and the pitcher rolls that number and the batter gets any kind of hit, it gets turned into a home run. So, I'm sorry, that's wrong. If the batter hits a home run, it gets turned into a single. If the parentheses are around the HR, if it's just an HR, any hit gets turned into a home run. So the pitchers with parentheses around home runs are pitchers that didn't give up very many home runs in the real season. And then the pitchers that have a lot of home runs without parentheses are the ones who gave up more home runs. So that's kind of a change in how the game works. Everything else in my program works just like it did when the game came out, except for the 1969 teams, which Sports Illustrated never put out. And I now have, thanks to Steve Etzel and his wonderful spreadsheet. So that is that. And let me go back to my program. Here's the main screen of my program. One of the things when you have a computer manager in these programs, you got to figure out what the computer manager is going to do in certain situations. So let me review how it works in my program. So my program uses the as played lineups, and it plays the games in the same order that they were played in the actual season. So that's how it works. The computer manager will put in relief pitchers either when a pitcher gets pinch hit for or when a pitcher starts to be ineffective. In Sports Illustrated Baseball, the pitcher does not have any fatigue. It doesn't change in the actual game. So as far as rolling dice and pitchers pitching, you could leave the same pitcher in, for 15 innings and it wouldn't be any different. But that's not real life. So what I do in my computer program is the computer manager, if a starting pitcher gives up 16 walks and hits and runs together, he comes out of the game, you know, kind of meaning, well, he's lost his effectiveness. He's got some endurance problems. He's fatigued, so he comes out after 16, no matter what the score of the game is. And a relief pitcher comes out after 5. Um, if a pitcher is pitching and his team is up by 1 run in the ninth inning, he'll come out for a reliever, and that kind of drives the number of saves to try to match the actual season. And the relief pitchers selected by the computer manager are based on how many relief appearances each pitcher made in the actual year. So on to pinch hitters. My computer manager will pinch hit for a pitcher if the game is tied or the team is losing in the 7th inning or later. The pinch hitter logic is the player on the bench with the highest Sports Illustrated game batting average versus a lefty or righty, whoever's pitching is selected. So it goes through the bench and finds out who's best hitting against whoever's pitching and picks that batter. I don't do any pinch hitting for anything other than the pitchers, which is something I could add later on, but I haven't done that yet. Stolen bases in Sports Illustrated baseball, the managers get to decide when someone steals a base, and in this game, the computer manager will steal only when there's a runner on first base only. Don't double steals or steals a home or anything like that. The teams that are losing in the 4th inning or later don't steal. And then what happens is when there's a runner on first base, the runner has a running rating of 0 through 5. And what the program does is it generates a random number and applies it to the running rating and decides whether someone should steal or not based on, what the random number is. And the faster runners will steal more often, of course, than the slower runners because they have more stolen bases in real life. Bunting. You have to decide when to bunt in Sports Illustrated Baseball. So what my computer manager does is if there's a runner on first, or there's a runner on second, or there's a runner on first and second, and there's 0 outs, the pitcher will bunt. For non-pitchers, they'll bunt in the same situation with 0 outs and those kind of runners on the bases, but only the batter in the order 1, 2, 6, or 7 will bunt, and he'll only bunt if he's a good batter. So in Sports Illustrated batter, you're either a good bunter or you're a bad bunter. That's all there is to it. So the bad bunters never bunt unless they're a pitcher in my computer manager's mind. So that's how the bunting works. And then in Sports Illustrated Baseball, there's some managers' decisions that need to be made during the game. One on base running, and there are the 7 different situations that a manager decision might be need to be made. And what happens is that the computer manager will look at the speed of the runner who's deciding to go or not and decide whether to send them based on their speed. So if the result is a F in parentheses, which is a fly out where the runner on third has the option of trying to score, the computer manager will send the runner on third if he's a runner between 2 and 5. And again, the running ratings are 0 through 5. So the faster the runner, the more often the computer manager will try to send them. And then it just plays the game. It rolls the dice and it figures out whether the runner is safe or not. And then on defense, the manager of Sports Illustrated Baseball needs to decide if a result happens from the game for the batter, or a double play result happens, and if there's runners on first and third or the bases loaded, he has to make a decision. And the decision made by the computer managers for the G's are if the team in the field is ahead by 3 runs or more, they let the run score. Otherwise, they'll hold the runner at third and get the batter out and let the runner on first advance. On double plays, if there's 0 outs, the computer manager will always take the double play and let those run score. So that's how I program the computer manager. And the goal is to try to have the results of a season kind of match what really happened. And I had to kind of tweak around some of these formulas in order to get it close. Now, I'll play a whole season now and show you how close I was able to get it, and then I will tell you what I'm going to start on next. So in my game, I can tell it to play all 973 games using the computer manager, managing, making the decisions that I just reviewed with you, and using the starting lineups that were used in the real season. So there's the standings before, and all I have to do is hit. I want to play the whole National League season, and it whizzes away through, and then I can look at the standings. And in this year, Pittsburgh won the East, which in this game happens more often than I ever thought it would. The Mets are supposed to win the East, and the Braves are supposed to win the West, but the Pittsburgh Pirates win the East more often than anyone else. And then I have a little program that goes in and takes a look at what just happens and looks at what happened compared to the actual 1969. So this is how I kind of tweak the manager's decision logic to kind of match, what really happened. So I can't do anything about at-bats or hits or doubles or triples or home runs because those just happen based on how the game plays. But you can see for a whole season they match up pretty good. The first column is actual 1969 and the second column is the season we just played. What I did have control over are stolen bases and bunts and saves and complete games. So I tweaked the stolen base and bunt logic to try to come out close, and it's pretty close. You can see the bunts in 69 were 68 per team, and in this game we just ran were 66. Sacrifice flies are shown there. Complete games are based on, my decisions, the computer manager's decisions on relief pitchers, and you can see that the average per team complete games is the same in real 1969 versus the season that we just played. And then the saves is another thing, and the saves were a little short on this season. So I can do this as many times as I want. I go back to the game. I can say I want to play it again. So I play the season again. It whips through all 973 games. I look at it. This time St. Louis won and Los Angeles won down there. And if I hit this again, you'll see that the numbers change. So now the St. Louis won, the Los Angeles won, and you can see this game column, which is season I just played, is a little bit different. Now the saves are 30 in real life and 22 in the game. So that was kind of interesting, and kind of one of the reasons I write these programs is to kind of see how the game itself compares to real life. But in order to play a whole season, the game needs a manager to make decisions, so I had to write code to simulate the manager. So what I want to do now is I will go back and I'll zero everything out, which is easy to do, and I'll look, there's my standings again, so no games have been played. Now what I want to do is play the New York Mets entire season. I'll play one game here, and then I'll play all the other ones myself, and I'll put one out on YouTube every so often, maybe the middle of the year, maybe the end of the year. Let's see if the Mets can win the league, even though they don't win it in this game as much as they should. So in order to play a whole season of one team in this game, I just say this. I say select the team for the entire season. I'll pick the Mets, and I'll hit enter. And what it does is it plays every game in order, and it shows the results of every game. And when it gets to the Mets game, it stops playing, and it plays it with me as the manager of the Met and the computer as the manager of the other team. So there's San Francisco and Atlanta. That's the first game of 1969. This is the results of the game, of course, not of real life. I don't know who won the game in real life. I'd have to look it up. But here's what happened in my replay. There's Los Angeles against Cincinnati. There's San Francisco again against Atlanta. There's Philadelphia and Chicago. And here we are up to the Mets' first game. So I will say, okay, I want to play the first game. If I don't want to play the first game, I hit N, and then the program, goes back to the menu. But I will play the first game, and the first game for the Mets is at New York against Montreal. There's their records since this is the first game. They're both 0-0. And there's their managers in 1969. There's the starting pitchers in the first game for the two teams. There is the starting lineup for Montreal in the first game. There's the starting lineup for the New York Mets in the first game, which is kind of the regular starting lineup for that year, except Wayne Garrett played third a lot, and right field was usually Ron Swoboda. So I don't know why those guys weren't in the lineup in the first game of the year, but they weren't, so we play it as it was played. So in Sports Illustrated Baseball, Each player has a rating for their position. You add up the ratings, and the team has a total rating, and that's what drives the defense part of Sports Illustrated Baseball. It's much simpler than a lot of the games that are out there now. They don't look at any individual plays to individual positions. They just go on a team basis. And the higher the number of your team defense, the more often you get automatic outstanding defense outs. And you can see here that if a Montreal Expo pitcher rolls a 10, then that's an automatic out on an outstanding defense play. They're only +3, so that's pretty bad. So they don't get very many chances to get those automatic outs. And the Mets are +33, which gives them an 11 to 13. So that's just telling me, what the automatic outs are for each team. Now, if you change the defense, then this number changes during the game. So I will say I want to see the dice rolls. So here is what my game looks like. And what I do is I try to make the game screen look like the actual game you're playing, because otherwise it doesn't feel like you're playing, a baseball board game. It just feels like it's a computer game with the baseball board game logic somehow in the background. So in Sports Illustrated Baseball, I show a line of colors there. The top line is Tom Seaver pitching. That's his pitching line. And the bottom line is Bobby Wine, the batter, against a right-handed pitcher. And you can see, as you play the game, you can see who's up and what they look like in Sports Illustrated Baseball. Also on this screen, you can see who's coming up next in the lineup for the Expos, and the line score is there. And in the black box is where the dice roll. So I'll start playing the game. In this game, you roll the dice for the pitcher, and he could determine the outcome of a batter, or if it's a green box, then you go on and roll the batter dice and see what happens in the outcome. So that's how Sports Illustrated Baseball. It's not a 50-50 game. It's a game where the pitcher has first shot at it, and if they don't do anything, then you get to roll the batter. In most cases, you roll the batter. Seaver's a good pitcher, so he's got more outs. The blue is a strikeout, and then the red are other outs. The yellow is walks, and the yellow X is the pitcher's X chart, where things like wild pitches and pass balls and hit by pitches can happen. So that's that. So I'll roll the dice. I roll a 30. You can see that 30 on the pitcher's line, Tom Seaver, is outlined in a white box. It's a green box on Tom Seaver's line. So we go and roll the dice again for the batter. We roll a 34, and you can see a red G box is outlined in white for Bobby Wine, which is a ground out, and it tells me that batter grounded out. So Wine is out. Next batter comes up, Sutherland. Seaver's line is still there, and now Sutherland line shows up. The most likely rolls in this game are the mid-30s, followed by the mid-20s, just because the way the dice work, and you can see videos on how the dice work also. Steve Etzel has a nice video on baseball board game dice situations and how they all work in the different games, which was interesting, since a lot of them are a little bit different. And this is kind of unique with the dice, the way that they designed it. The 35 for Seaver is a nothing. The low numbers a lot of times have the good hits. In Sutherland's case, he rolled a 13 and got a single. So there's Sutherland on first base. He's a one runner, 0 to 5, but he happens to be one. And the computer manager will decide whether he wants to steal or bunt or whatever. So I don't have any control. All I can do now is change the defense or change the pitcher. So Seaver rolls a 34. That's a green box. Staub rolls a 27 and rolls into a double play. So that's the end of the inning. All right, we're in the bottom of the first. The Mets come up. Tommy Agee is their leadoff. You can see in parentheses after Tommy Agee's name is a plus. That means he's a good bunter. If there's a minus there, I think if the minus there, it's a bad bunter. Maybe if there's nothing there, he's a bad bunter. And then the stats that you see next to Tommy Agee's face are his stats so far in this replay season, not his real life stats, but how he's done so far in the season. So Roy Face is not a good pitcher. You can see he doesn't have any automatic outs. He's got no blue strikeouts or red outs. He gives up singles, though. You can see on the left side of his line, there's 2 1+s, which are singles. So bad pitchers give up singles, good pitcher make out. He gives up a home run converted from any kind of hit on line. That looks like a 34. So he must give up more home runs than average in real life, because that's how Steve Etzel's program figured him out to be with AHR there. So he rolls a 21, which is a nothing. A 36 is a ground out by AG. I'll speed up a little bit. I don't have to explain this stuff anymore. There's 26 for face, and then a 21 for Rod Gasper is a ground out. There is another green box from face, and Boswell grounds out. So 1-2-3 inning for the Mets. Seaver's back on the mound against cleanup hitter Mac Jones. 15 is one of the D's on the pitcher line, but that's not an automatic out for the Mets defense. It needed to be 11 or 13, so that'll go ahead and roll for the batter, and he rolls a 24 and flies out. Okay, Tom Seaver rolled a 27. On his line is an automatic strikeout, so the batter doesn't get to roll. Bob Bailey just strikes out, so he is out. There's another D. That's not the right number for an outstanding defensive play, so we roll it for the batter, and he grounds out also. So bottom of the second, Cleon Jones comes up. There's a nothing from him. The pitcher face, a ground out for Cleon Jones. There's a 24 for face, another nothing roll. Ed Charles, the third baseman, rolls a 13, gets a double. So now we have Charles at second base with one out. Ed Cranepool comes up. 33 is nothing. Cranepool hits a sacrifice fly, and SF doesn't. The SF in Sports Illustrated Baseball means that the runner on third tags and scores, but no one else advances. So Charles stays at second. There's a nothing from Roy Face and a fly out from Jerry Grody. So after 2 innings, scores 0-0. There's a pop out for LeBoy. Ty Klein comes up. He singles. Okay, here we go. Roy Face is up, runner on first base only. So Roy Face has decided to bunt. So you can see on the left side, there's the bunt table for Roy Face, who's a bad bunter. And then the dice will roll, and then we'll figure out what happened from the bunt. So we roll a 22. And you can see in the red, yellow, white box that turns out to be a fielder's choice. So in the bunting world, that's a good thing. That means that the bunt was successful and Face got on base. So we got runners on first and second with one out now. A 34 is a nothing from Seaver, and there we go. Bobby Wine, weak hitting Bobby Wine, connected against Tom Seaver. Because he rolled a 10, and that's where his home run is. He had a 3-run homer, so the Mets have got themselves quickly into a hole here. Sutherland grounds out, and Rusty Staub triples. Seaver's not pitching too well. Basically, what happens is, like in any baseball board game, the lucky rolls are happening for the Expos right now. 28 for Face is nothing. 28 for Harrelson is a ground out. That is not a defensive out. That is a ground out. So Seaver's out. AG, he grounds out. So the Mets are down 3-0 after 3 innings. Bob Bailey leads off with a 14, which is a nothing from Seaver, and he grounds out. 24 is a walk. You can see it's yellow on Seaver's line, so Bateman goes to first base. There's a 13. There's a 11 or 13, remember, based on the Mets team defense, are automatic outs due to outstanding defense. So that's a G. It's the same as a pitcher or a batter rolling a G, a ground out force out. So LeBoy goes to first, and there's a force at second. Ty Klein, you can see his batting numbers are 1,000 because first time up he got a hit. A second time up, Seaver rolls a 21 and strikes him out. Oh, Roy Face, nothing. There's an error. That's how errors happen in this game. You get a white box with an E in it. All the errors in this game are one-base errors. So Gasper goes to first base on an error. He's a 2-runner. We're down by 3 runs, so I don't think I'm going to steal, but 2 is pretty fast. 16 is a nothing. There's a single. A single with a star means 2-base advance, so Gasper goes to third. Maybe the Mets are going to come through with something here. There's a nothing pitch from Face, And there's a sacrifice fly by Cleon Jones, and Gasper comes in to score. There's a walk, so Charles gets to first base. Ed Kranepool, one of their better hitters, grounds into a force out, and here comes Jerry Grote, the catcher. The 27's nothing, and then a 31 is a fly out. So the Mets get one run back. Roy Face leads off with a fly out automatically from Seaver's line. There's a ground out for Bobby Wine, the star of the game so far. There's a ground out for Sutherland. You can see that Seaver rolled a 22, and that's an automatic ground out, so Sutherland didn't get to roll. All right, Roy Face with a nothing pitch. There is a ground out by Harrelson. There is a ground out by Seaver. And there is a ground out by AG. Here we are in the top of the sixth. Seaver still on the mound. All right, he got an HR. So if Rusty Staub gets any kind of hit, that's going to get converted to a home run, which is a feature that didn't come out with Sports Illustrated, but was thought up by somebody to try to make the game better. So let's see if Rusty Staub can get us any kind of hit, which gets turned into a home run. He does not. He flies out. That's a nothing from Seaver and a ground out for Mac Jones. 2 down. There's a nothing from Seaver and a pop out for Bob Bailey. All right, bottom of the sixth. All right, Mets got to get scoring here. Gasper comes up. He flies out. Boswell comes up. Gets a walk. Cleon Jones strikes out. And Ed Charles comes up, and Eddie Charles gets a single. Okay, here's a manager decision. So single with parentheses means that the runners go one base, or they can try to go more than one base if they want to. So there's the manager decision line on the left. The red means out, and the green means safe. The lower numbers, the low numbers are in the top. It goes 10 on the top to 39 in the bottom. Boswell's a 2. There's 2 outs. Kranepool's coming up. I'll just show you how it works. I will say, yes, I want Boswell, a 2-runner, to try to go to third base on this single. So I'm going to need a number down here in this green column, the green section. So I hit yes, and it rolls a 26. And you can see the green box with an E in it is highlighted on the left side of the screen, which means it was a single. Boswell was safe going to third, plus there was an error, so Ed Charles gets to go to second on the error. Kranepool's up with tying runs in scoring position. He gets a nothing pitch, so Kranepool is up to him, and Kranepool rolls a 33 and flies out. So a lot of excitement for nothing. All right, top of the seventh. Seaver's 37 turns into a ground out from Bateman. LaCoy, there's another Seaver HR. So if LaBoy gets any kind of hit, it turns into a home run. And luckily he doesn't, for the Mets' sake. He flies up. Ty Klein comes up with 2 down. 39 and 34 means fly out for him. Here's Jerry Grote leading off the bottom of the 7th. He grounds out. Here's Buddy Harrelson. Okay, here's Roy Face's home run. If Buddy Harrelson gets any kind of hit, it turns into a home run. But he doesn't. He flies out. And here's Seaver, bottom of the 7th. I'm going to go ahead and pinch hit. We're behind. So when I hit P for pinch hit, it shows me the bench. It shows me the line of all the bench players. And it even shows me the game average, not the average that he's done so far, but in the game it computes the average against a right-handed pitcher. And it tells me that Art Shamsky is the best chance of getting a hit, so I'll pick him. So here comes Art Shamsky, a lefty versus a righty. Face rolls a 39, Shamsky rolls a 14. Usually a good number, but not for Shamsky. He's out. Now it tells me I need a relief pitcher because I pinch hit for Seaver. Uh-oh, that's not good. Okay, here's my bullpen. I can pick any of these relievers, and the more colorful boxes, the better the relievers are. So I'll go with Tug McGraw, lefty. I'll switch it up on him. So there's Tug McGraw. There's his line. He's got HRs in parentheses, which means he doesn't give up as many home runs as the average pitcher. So he rolls a 36. So there's one. Roy Face won't get a home run anyway, so that doesn't matter. He strikes out. Bobby Wine comes up. He flies out. And Sutherland grounds out. So we're down to the bottom of the 8th. Top of the order comes up. Tommy Agee walks. That's nice. 32 is a nothing. A sacrifice fly for Gasper. Face is going strong. A 3-hitter. All right. Okay, here we got some action. Here we got Agee on a double with parentheses. He's got a chance to go to try to score. Since we're down by 2, I'm going to say no. I'm going to stop him at third base. So there we got second and third. Cleon Jones comes up. The roll to Cleon is a 20. Cleon pops out. Cleon needed to get a hit there. Ed Charles is up. Let's pinch hit for Ed Charles. What the heck? Who we got on our bench? We need a hit. Who's going to most chances of hit is Ron Swoboda. So here comes Ron Swoboda. 31 is a nothing. Swoboda flies out, so that was a waste. Swoboda. Now I got to look at my defense because Swoboda pinch hit. You can see Swoboda's in there at third base. He's not a third baseman, so he's a -10, which reduces the defense. So I'm going to have to put in a real third baseman for Swoboda. And I will put in a third baseman named Bobby Field, since he's a 7. Now if I look at the defense, now I have a 7 at third base and a total of 37, so it improved. I used to be 11 and 13, now I'm 12 and 13. Nice. It is the top of the 9th. McGraw's still in. He gets a Rusty Staub to ground out. He gets a K. A K on a pitcher's line means that if it is an out, it gets turned into a strikeout. It's a strikeout anyway, so it doesn't matter. And Bob Bailey comes up, and Bob Bailey grounds out. So here we are at bottom of the 9th, down 3-1. Roy Face going for a complete game here. Cranepool leads it off with a flyout, pop-out, an F. There's an 11 from Face, but remember it needs to be a 10 for these poorly defended Expos to get an automatic out, so that will not be an automatic out. Instead, it's a 31, which is a flyout. We're down to our last man, Bud Harrelson, a 29, and a 36 will end the game. And the Expos defeat the New York Mets in the first game of 1969. There are the stats of this game. Bobby Wine with a 3-run homer was the only blast of the game. Cleon Jones knocked in our only run with a sacrifice fly. No hits. We only had 4 hits, 2 by Boswell and 2 by Charles. Charles had 2 hits. And I pinch hit for him. That was probably kind of stupid. Charles probably pissed off at me for doing that. Here's Roy Face's line. One run, 9 innings. Here's Seaver. Started, pitched 7 innings, let up 3 runs. Lost. Tug McGraw came on, pitched 2 innings. So now it starts playing the other games. The next game's after the Mets game that just got played. So San Diego played Houston. Pittsburgh played St. Louis, and on and on and on. And it wants to know if I want to play the next Met game. I will say no, because I think you're probably bored of this by now. And now I go back to the main screen, and it says a complete season play is in process. If I look at the standings now, there's my Mets 0-1. So we'll need to play some more games and get those Mets into a winning record. So with that, I will sign off. Thanks for watching this video, and I will put out another one, see how the Mets do in 1969 replay using team charts developed by Steve Etzel's spreadsheet. So, signing off.